So I'm sure you've heard the news by now that the Pope has passed away. At least that's what they're telling us. Which means the Antichrist is about to be revealed and that the end of the world is upon us. Well, of course, this comes from the prophecy of the popes, which apparently came from Saint Maliki. I'm really not sure how to pronounce his name properly. I know some people call him Malachi, but I like calling him Maliki. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about this prophecy of the popes. You can do your own research. Now, if you just want a quick summary or the gist of this prophecy of the popes and the significance of this, well, the gist is that Pope Francis was the last pope until the end times, and then the Antichrist is revealed. But again, do your own research. But now, with the prophecy of the popes set aside, I want to touch on some really weird coincidences going on with this passing of Pope Francis. The first weird thing is how Pope Francis literally passed away hours after he met with JD Vance. And the weird coincidence here is how JD Vance is wearing the gold tie. While we have Mr. Donnie right here wearing that same gold tie last week at a press conference talking about Iran. And while he's talking about Iran and the situation going on, a girl fainted. Again, I'm not sure what to make of this. I am just pointing out weird anomalies. Since we are talking about Iran, I found this very interesting, or a coincidence. Again, I'm just presenting to you guys information. But on Saturday, we had the US and Iran having nuclear talks, which were held in Rome. What I find interesting is that nobody is questioning why they had to have these talks in Rome. Now, earlier this morning, we had this news coming out where Putin has signed the 20-year strategic partnership agreement with Iran, making the two countries officially allies. Now, for those who are not picking up what's being laid down right here, this right here means if Israel attacks Iran, that Russia will get involved, which means we as allies with Israel will also get involved, unraveling into World War III. Some more weird coincidences going on here is how he passed away at the age of 88. While at the same exact time, we have Klaus Schwab resigning as the World Economic Forum chairman. As we can see right here, a quote coming from him following my recent announcement, and as I enter my 88th year, there's that 88 again, I have decided to step down from the position of chairman. Now, what's up with the number 88 and why is it so significant? Now, there is a deep rabbit hole here with the number 88, how it is tied to Mr. Donnie. His name in simple gematria is 88. There's ties to different movies with Donnie Darkened. You have Back to the Future going 88 miles per hour. So there's a lot going on there. But again, you can go down that rabbit hole with your own research information. But just a quick little summary. The number 8 by itself is the sign of the infinity, going back and forth. 8 biblically means the new beginning or a start of a new beginning. Now, a lot of this is speculation and theory, but the main takeaway here is that the number 88 is significant to the occult. Now, another weird coincidence to note is how at the time of this news breaking that Pope Francis passed away, we had Bitcoin at $88,000. There's that 88 again. Now, the number 8 symbolizing a new beginning makes some sense right here, since now the Catholic Church will need to bring in a new pope for a new beginning. Likewise, the WEF will also need to bring in a new chairman, a new beginning. I find this telling right here how this could be symbolic of a new beginning of a new financial system, saying bye-bye to the US dollar and bringing in a cryptocurrency that is built off of blockchain technology. Now, of course, you also have the symbolism of him passing away, or at least that's what they are telling us, him passing away on Easter. So there's some symbolism right there. But something else that I find interesting is that we already see people talking about who they are going to replace him with. And I find the timing of this just so perfect. Again, this is going to be my own personal opinion, but this is how I see things, okay? So we already have people talking about bringing in this conservative Catholic named Robert Sarah, where apparently he is a hardliner against mass immigration. And I personally cannot help but see the Hegelian dialectic here, the problem, reaction, solution. What was the problem? A progressive liberal pope. What's the reaction? People are fed up with these progressive liberal ideas, so they then cry out for someone who is conservative. And what's the solution? Bring in a conservative who's going to come and save the day. But now, if the prophecy of the popes has any validity to it, that means this next conservative pope is going to come in and support the Antichrist, which makes perfect sense because we are witnessing the rise of false religion, the harlot of Revelation chapter 17, especially with the New Apostolic Reformation, which these individuals who are part of the New Apostolic Reformation, they see Mr. Donnie as God's warrior in their battle to win America from satanic forces and Christianize it. And as we can see how his AG pick is tied to the New Apostolic Reformation Dominionists, and not to mention the head pastor of the faith office, Paula White, is also part of this New Apostolic Reformation. I'll be coming back to her. Now, we have seen in the past how some of these NAR leaders have met with the Pope, which makes sense because the NAR is all about power and dominion. Now, for those who do not know what the New Apostolic Reformation is, it is a theological belief of causing dominion down here through the Seven Mountain Mandate. Now, this Seven Mountain Mandate is this idea of taking control over these seven aspects of society: family, religion, education, media, arts and entertainment, business, and government. Now, in my own personal opinion, I believe the spirit behind the Catholic Church is the same spirit behind the NAR, which is the spirit of false religion, which is the spirit of the harlot found here in Revelation chapter 17, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, that is spiritual idolatry, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Once again, spiritual idolatry. Now, when you drop down to verse 5, you can see her name, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of all harlots and the abominations of the earth. Now, the reason why she has the name Mystery Babylon is because all false religions can be traced all the way back to Babylon. Now we can drop down to verse 7 and we can see how the beast, the Antichrist, carries this woman, carries the false spirit of religion. And right here in verse 9 is exactly why I believe the NAR is backed by the spirit of false religion with their seven mountain mandate, because here is the mind which has wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sits. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but now prophetically, this woman will be sacrificed down here in verse 16 for the beast. And then the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these will hate the harlot, make her desolate, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill their purpose, to be of one mind, and to give their kingdom to the beast. And now in verse 18, and the woman whom you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth, which in my opinion is the city of Rome. And I believe the same spirit of false religion, which is behind the Roman Catholic Church, is also behind the NAR. Because remember, this spirit of false religion, Mystery Babylon, is the mother of all harlots, the mother of all false religions, which the New Apostolic Reformation is a heretical false religion. Now, I personally believe we are going to continue to see the rise of this false religion, using the name of Jesus, using Christianity as a smokescreen. The irony with this Dominion Now theology, that they think that they are going to usher in the kingdom without Jesus, when in reality, they are going to be ushering in the Antichrist kingdom. We can see news like this right here, where the Sanhedrin wrote a letter to Donnie that he has been elected to fulfill a heavenly mission. Oh, he's on a mission, all right. And how we also have rhetoric like this right here, how Paula White is telling Christians how they must learn to not try to convert Jews. What are you talking about? Now, once again, let me reiterate the fact that this is my own personal opinion, but I believe what we are witnessing right now is the rise of false religion, this combination of the New Apostolic Reformation with the Catholic Church, with the ties with Israel, which will then probably in the future bring in the Noahide laws that will be the harlot bringing this up, protecting Israel for the first 3.5 years. After the first 3.5 years, where the Antichrist is protecting Israel and most likely implementing the Noahide laws with the harlot of Revelation chapter 17, he will then turn on the spirit of false religion. He will turn on the harlot, and he will then devour her, and then he will bring forth his own religion where everybody is going to then worship him. He will sit in the temple and declare himself to be God, which again, I believe will have something to do with him merging with artificial intelligence. But that's just my opinion. But what I cannot help but think about with this news right here and this news right here, where it seems like there's going to be a new beginning with somebody else in control. But now we are going to have to wait and see how things unfold. Now, with that being said, guys, this should cause excitement for believers, realizing how close we are to the end, causing urgency to get the gospel out, to love others, to show the love of Christ, and to continue to focus your eyes upon the Lord, for he's the author and the perfecter of your faith, and continue to look up, for our redemption draws near. I love you all so much. God bless. Remember, the just shall live by faith.